Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Super Subs Podcast. Your host Harish and Nar. Midweek, it's still international break. So, and that's one of the reasons we wanted to record this episode is because at work I've been getting a few questions, and so I asked Narv if he wants to kind of do this, but um, people were asking like, what is international break, or like why do we have so many international breaks, and like why do these players play like year round? And that's a whole nother argument, but um, I guess also just like how does World Cup qualifications work and stuff. Put my name in the hat to for the games. I don't know if you did, North, today.
Uh, Wait, what? Names in the hat.
Today was like the pre-sale for World Cup games.
Oh, no.
Yeah, if you have a Visa card, you can do a pre-sale. But I think the next one is in 2 weeks, I think.
I don't have a Visa.
Okay.
Got that MasterCard.
MasterCard, yeah.
hmm
Um, so people were just asking me, and a few of our friends too from Instagram were just messaging about international break. So I haven't really caught too many this past 2 weeks, but I thought this could be more of like an informative type episode. So if you don't like to learn, you can just skip this one if you not feeling that. But yeah, we'll hop right in to so the World Cup is obviously next year in the US, Mexico, and Canada. So three countries, and it's the first time it's hosted across multiple countries. So historically, there's been what 32 teams that make
hmm
the World Cup, but this time around, it's expanding to 48 teams. And I think even before 32, it was 24 teams and 16 teams like decades and decades ago. Damn, we lost you, Narv. Oh,
Sorry,
there we go.
folks.
But yeah, this year we'll have 48 teams, and uh, the way the teams are decided, so 48 teams make the World Cup, and then you have six different FIFA confederations, and they have their own tournaments. That can be a whole another topic. They have their own games they do, kind of like a mini version of a World Cup, and then they also just operate differently. But these confederations are broken up by region, essentially. So you have one in Asia, Africa, North, Central America, and Caribbeans, and then you have South America, UEFA, which is like the big European one, and then Oceania. So there's six different confederations, and FIFA decides how many countries from each confederation make it to the World Cup. The way they do this is a little complicated. They have some formula, but big picture, it's essentially they decide the number of teams based on kind of how many countries make up that confederation, and also just the rankings of the nations within the confederations. So this year, the number of countries that make it to the World Cup. So Asia gets 8 teams. Africa will get 9. CONCACAF will get 6, and that includes the U.S., Mexico, and Canada. They get automatic qualifications, and that's always been a thing. The host country of the World Cup always makes a tournament because that would be lame otherwise. So we need to push for Nepal to get become a host.
Yeah, they got clapped.
uh,
They didn't even
and
make it to the third round of qualifying. They got eliminated straight away.
yeah,
Negative 18 goal difference. Whew.
and then we have the South American Confederation. What's the name? Like
Cambiel.
Combiel. They get what, 6 spots, and then Oceania get sadly just one, and then
Ocean Split.
UEFA UEFA get 16. So that's 46 teams. And then the 47th and 48th team, uh, those are determined through a playoff. So there's going to be those two.
Playoffs.
We talking about playoff. We're, so we get two playoff spots, right? and each confederation, except UEFA, just because they get so many teams that are guaranteed in, each confederation get either one or two countries that get to play in this playoff, and it's right before the World Cup, so that's in March.
Yeah, 3 months before.
Yeah, so they do like a single legged knockout tournament style to determine who's the 47th and 48th team.
Mhm.
So that's essentially a breakdown of who all kind of makes it, the different confederations. So the next segment now is breaking up like how each confederation, not necessarily how they operate, just because that's a whole, you can dive deep into that, but just for World Cup specifically, how do they decide, the rankings of which teams qualify? Um, so each Narvin and I will kind of take turns covering each confederation. Again, they also have their own tournaments and stuff that they host, but this is the main reason that international break happens so frequently is because I think for South America, like they started World Cup qualifications for this upcoming World Cup back in 23, I think.
Yeah, it's October of 23, so
Insane, which
yeah.
um but I think that's the only confederation that operates like that, but which is a long time. Like teams can get very good and bad in that 3 year span.
Hmm.
But I mean, this will be more focused on like how do these confederations decide, okay, these are the teams that will qualify for the World Cup. So I guess we'll just start kind of in order. Well, Oceania, that one is just there's like a three-legged
It's a
kind
small
of
one.
bracket style. Just because it's such a small, yeah, small region.
It's
There's what?
usually it's always that one team that comes up on top with New Zealand in that
Yeah.
anyways, but it's New Zealand, Fiji, Papua New Guinea, Solomon Islands, Tahini or not Tahini, Tahiti, Tonga,
Tahiti.
Samoa, New Caledonia, and Vanuatu. So it's yeah, like you mentioned, very small.
Yeah, so that's a small pool, and they do just a three bracket kind of system, and then just one team makes it from there.
But the runner up, they get a spot into the Inter Confederation playoffs, which Harish was mentioning is like the two spots remaining for the 47, 48 spot.
Yep. So they would compete with like other countries from other confederations for that.
Exactly.
All right. Which one do you want to cover next? Should we just go in like alphabetical, cover like Asia next?
Uh, yeah, we could do that. Um, I can touch on the Asia one. So Asia, there's a preliminary round, and that one has uh 9 times 4 teams. That's 36 teams in total, and um, basically 9 groups of 4 teams. And from those, the top two from each group move on to round three. And in round three, there are 3 groups of 6 teams. And the top 2 teams from each of those 3 groups will automatically get their World Cup spot. So Iran, Uzbekistan were top two from Group A. They're in the World Cup. South Korea and Jordan, they were top two from Group B, so they're in the World Cup. And then Japan and Australia, that always throws me off, but they got top two, so they're in the World Cup. And then the teams that finish third and fourth from each from those groups, they go into round four, where that one is split into 2 groups, and the top two um, from the winning from those 2 groups will qualify. And then the team that finishes runner up, they get a spot in the Inter Confederation playoffs. So the teams that are in contention in this next round is Qatar, UAE, um, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, Indonesia, and I don't know this country, OMA. Um,
Oman?
yes, yes,
Yeah, so uh those teams will play for essentially like that playoff spot.
correct.
Yeah, and before like even the preliminary rounds, there's uh 20 so there's 47 I think total Asian countries that like have a team that like the Confederation recognizes. So there's 20 teams that play a tournament beforehand to even qualify for the preliminary round. Teams are ranked like 26 to 47. So like Nepal, for example, they played in those games, but they didn't finish in that top 10 to even make it to the preliminary. So yeah, that's the Asian Confederation. The next one that I'll cover is in Africa. So the way that that's decided is teams are broken up into nine different groups. Each group has six teams, so there's 54 total countries represented. And essentially, the winner of each group will automatically qualify for the World Cup. So that's Egypt, Senegal, South Africa, Cape Verde, which is a huge shock. They finished over Cameroon, Morocco, Ivory Coast, Algeria, Tunisia, and Ghana. And then after that, what happens is the teams that finish second in each group, they get put into a table and they're kind of stacked based on how many points that they got kind of from that first set of games. And they're kind of ranked in order. And the top four teams will kind of fight for a playoff spot that's going to be played in March. So those four teams will be Gabon, Madagascar, Congo, and Burkina Faso. Not sure where they're from, but those teams will advance to play in the. We'll see who gets to advance to the inner confederation playoffs. So shocking. The most shocking one for me is Nigeria. They finished third within their group, so they were behind South Africa and Benin. So they didn't even have a chance to play in the playoff spot for the World Cup. So we won't be seeing them next year.
Sad days. They got so much talent in that team.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then uh, not trying to bring this to United or anything, but Cameroon, they got. I thought it was an upset, but Cape Verde, they were first in their group, which was surprising. Everyone would think Cameroon would be like the winner of their group.
Yeah, and so they're gonna be knocked out of contention for playoffs as well.
Hmm. Shocking. Um, so now if we want to move on to CONCACAF, and that is the North American teams. Um, this one in the preliminary rounds is basically the 30 teams qualify, and they're split into six groups of five teams. And as Harish said, U.S., Canada, and Mexico, they're already qualified because they're the hosts, so they don't partake in this. From those preliminary games, the top two teams from the six groups move on to the final round. So 12 teams move on. And in this round, it's split up four teams into three groups. And the top, I believe it's the top two, or sorry, top team from each group. They qualify for the World Cup, and then the runner-ups in the group, they it's the top two runners up that make the
Playoffs.
playoffs.
Yeah, so similar to Africa, how they take the runner-ups and stack them in a table, and based on the number of points that you got within your group, you get stacked, and yeah, the top two teams make the playoffs.
And as of now, the CONCACAF is still going on. It's only 2 games each team has played um, out of 6, so there's still definitely a lot of time. I will say, just from like a quick glance, Group C is quite tough. Honduras, Costa Rica, Haiti. There's a definitely trickier group out of the other two.
All right, do you want to cover South America too, that
Yep.
confederation?
So the South America Confederation, the CONMEBOL, uh,
They make it the easiest, I think, in my opinion, and I think also the most
yeah,
fair, just because you play every team.
yeah, it's almost like a table format. Essentially, they go through the preliminary rounds, but then from the preliminary rounds, the top 10 teams make it, and uh, there's no groups or anything in this final round. It's just the standings. Uh, and from the standings, the top 6 teams, they get automatic qualification for the World Cup. And then the seventh spot, um, they get a seed into the Inter-Confederation playoffs. Um,
Do you know how many countries, like, I guess the confederation recognizes as like having a team? Because like I could see it with like Europe and Africa, just given how many countries there are, and even Asia, like this type of format, I guess, wouldn't be possible.
mhm.
But like the CONCACAF, for example, just because they don't have that many teams, like I feel like this type of format would be more fair than breaking up into different groups.
Gotcha. Yeah, um, yeah, I'm trying to see. Or it might be actually just I don't think they even have preliminary rounds. I think it's just the full 10 countries that partake. Um, and that's why, to your point, they do the group, or not group, they just do the standings, because it's only the 10 countries that's recognized. Um, so in this one, the games are actually all finished. So Argentina, they finished first. They're in. Ecuador finished second. They're in. Colombia third. Uruguay four. Brazil five. And Paraguay six. So those 6 are in. And Bolivia, they get the seventh spot.
And so they're in the playoff, and this could be potentially be their first ever World Cup appearance.
Yeah. Um, and just one quick thing to mention also, the Interconfederation playoffs includes like the African nation, Oceanic, CONCACAF, and CONMEBOL teams. But the games for that tournament is also played in is all going to be played in North America, obviously.
Yeah. It's usually played like wherever the host country is.
Exactly.
Um, but yeah, going back to Bolivia though, it's cool. They had to beat essentially in their last game, they had to beat Brazil to get the seventh spot, and they beat them 1-0. It was crazy scenes.
Yeah, Bolivia was they were kind of getting smacked a lot, but their home games is where they really got their points worth. And I didn't realize or like think about it, but it's because a lot of players said like they're having a really tough time playing in Bolivia because of like the elevation.
Yeah, get adjusted to.
Hmm.
It's crazy. We used to see like Chile was like a team that's always
Yeah, they finished dead
guaranteed
last.
dead last. Yeah. All right, so that's South America. Next, we can cover, I guess, Europe would be um,
The big one.
the biggest one. So 16 teams are guaranteed to make it. Um, and again, there's going to be 12 different groups of either 4. each group has either 4 or 5 different teams. Um, they go through this. It's kind of entertaining to watch, but like they literally pick balls out of a jar, I guess, and like decide which pots like countries will uh countries are placed in pots, and depending on your ranking, so like the best top team ranked teams will be in pot one, second group will be in pot two, and then you kind of pick from each pot, create groups that way. So each
Very
group has,
similar to the Champions League
yeah, exactly.
draws.
Um, so there's groups of 4 to 5, and within the group, like Africa, you play the people in the group, you play a home and an away fixture. And after that, the winning team from each group, they make the World Cup automatically. So you have from Group A, Slovakia, they'll be in the World Cup, Switzerland, and this is just as of now. It's not finalized, but this is just the standing as of now. France, they're leading their group. Spain is leading theirs. Portugal, Netherlands, Bosnia, Norway, North Macedonia, they're above Belgium and Wales and Kazakhstan right now. England and Croatia. So those teams will automatically make it into the World Cup, assuming kind of standings stay like this. Again, there's the games don't end until I want to say December or end of November is kind of when the tables are finalized. And then after that, this is when things get a little confusing. So 16 teams will make it into a UEFA specific playoff. Um, and from here, the 12 group runner-ups will make it. So whoever's in second place in each group, they'll make this UEFA playoff. And then whoever is ranked, if they didn't finish second, they kind of look at the remaining teams and look at who are the top 4 ranked teams. And this is where the UEFA Nations League, that tournament comes into play. It's people kind of laugh about it a lot just because it's like, just an extra tournament. But that's essentially how these teams in Europe are ranked, is their performance in the Nations League. So depending on that is how they determine the remaining 4 teams. So 16 teams will play in this spot, playoff path, I guess. And from there, 4 of the top teams from that playoff will make the World Cup. So 12 group winners and then 4 from the UEFA specific tournament. And then again, they don't have a playoff spot for kind of the overall World Cups, but this is like a UEFA specific playoff.
Yeah, they got plenty of teams in there already. So,
Yeah.
um,
And I think so far the most shocking, I guess, is I want to say maybe we'll see with Germany how they
yeah,
do.
third right now.
But the thing is like they also like don't have to necessarily try because even if they finish, let's say, dead last in their group, they still will make it into the playoff, the UEFA playoff, because they're ranked, I think, third or fourth in the Nations League.
Yeah, just quick glance. I think the one that Bosnia are on top. That group's kind of easy, not gonna lie. Um, but Denmark will be an interesting one just because their coach is has replaced Ten Hag. So that'll be
Mm.
interesting going forward.
Yeah, and it looks like the hardest group, um, it might be that Belgium group with Wales. Kazakhstan is a sleeper of a team. We just signed their striker this offseason, and he kind of went under the radar, but
Mhm.
he's been he's been kind of leading the lines for them.
Group Group B's a little spicy too. Spain, Georgia, Turkey. Georgia and Turkey are
Yeah.
a little tricky.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the match between Turkey and Spain. Lamine
Yeah.
and Arda Güler going at it.
Yeah. Uh there is some funny moments like Norway just obliterated Moldova 11-1 and Holland scored 5 goals that match. But the funny thing was Moldova's goalkeeper after the match said Holland Holland kept apologizing to me after every goal he scored. He said, "I'm really sorry. It's not my fault, but we have to keep scoring for the goal difference."
Yeah, that was a total clapping. But for me, like the biggest disappointment out of all the countries is definitely Nigeria, just given the talent that they have.
Yeah, I mean they're always like making on the AFCON like deep run, and everyone usually has like money on them to win that tournament. So like, yeah, that's a shame because they have so much talent.
Oh yeah. I mean, they have Premier League players in there. They have Bundesliga, um,
Yeah, well
La Liga.
established. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's pretty sad that they didn't make it.
Um, how's Ivory Coast in that? Uh,
In that ranking, let's see. I had that up recently. Let's see. Ivory Coast, their year, yeah, they finished top of their group, so they made it.
nice.
Yeah, my sleeper is um, Algeria. They finished
Mm.
on top of their group, but uh, and Egypt. But Egypt, I don't know if you saw Marmoush, he went down with an injury. So City is just
Oof.
losing another player there.
Perfect time for the Derby.
Yeah, he's missing the Derby.
Jeez. Yeah, that's the downside of these qualifiers, but especially as things get closer to the World Cup time where like teams have to win, can't really play their bench players, so
Yeah, and so like as we see more international breaks, like in the winter, for example, there's specific periods where like Africa, for example, they have a tournament. What I forget what it's called. Maybe the Africa Cup of Nations or something, where literally no one else has international break, but just these African countries and a lot of players, because I mean it's a huge deal representing your country. They'll step away from playing for their club to go represent their country. And like Salah, huge player for Liverpool, he's going to be missing a chunk of time in the Premier League, like even when these club games are going on.
hmm. Um, yeah, so that's I haven't really followed the international break much. I did see Ronaldo score a banger. I forget which team, and then the game versus Hungary today. That was crazy scenes. He scored a PK, but like when he did his celebration, it was at Hungary, but like the entire stadium was like did the celebration with him.
Yeah, and then he traded jerseys with Szoboszlai. I guess
hmm
he like looked up to Ronaldo growing up. So
Yeah, I don't know if you there's like a photo that resurfaced. It was when Portugal was playing Hungary back in the day. I think it was '09. Szoboszlai was a mascot for the Portuguese team.
oh, I didn't see that. That's cool.
Yeah. And he was like not he wasn't Ronaldo's mascot, but he's like the goalkeeper's mascot who's next to Ronaldo.
Dude, that's crazy. Full
Yeah.
circle.
hmm Crazy part too, I think Ronaldo was captaining that game. Like captain from there to now. Wild.
And this might be his last tournament that we ever see him in a Portugal jersey.
Yeah, I won't be surprised.
It's
Pushing up there.
maybe same with Messi too.
hmm Yeah, I have a friend at work who watches the CONMEBOL, and he said the Argentina match, he said it was weird. Like, it felt like Messi wasn't gonna play in the World Cup because like how emotional he was. He thinks it's just because it's his last match in Argentina is why he looked emotional. But he said it was like a little weird vibes.
It was crazy. It wasn't like the whole stadium, like they gave a standing ovation. It was just like him kind of
hmm
on the field. Insane.
Yeah.
Legend.
hmm Um, I don't know if you have any other games in mind or you want to give listeners just a rundown of the Prem matches happening this weekend.
Yeah, I think the biggest one obviously is going to be on Sunday. Big, big one. Don't want to miss it. But we have Burnley playing Liverpool, and then we have the Manchester Derby. So both uh, clubs here have been struggling, but we'll see if they can find some form, find some footing here. And then Saturday, we have Arsenal facing Nottingham with their brand new appointed manager, Ange. We'll see how
That's
he plays.
right.
We'll have to dig into this whole situation next episode. Um, and then we have Bournemouth, Brighton, Palace play Sunderland, which will be good. I think Everton, Villa is going to be the best game out of that 10 o'clock window. West Ham, we'll see if they're finding some form. They play Tottenham, and then we play Brentford.
Nice. Around the league, there's some good matchups actually. Real Sociedad versus Real Madrid. Atletico Madrid, who's struggling, versus Villarreal, who's quite hot right now. And then in Serie A, we got Juventus versus Inter Milan and Fiorentina versus Napoli. And then Sunday, we have Barcelona versus Valencia. So it's nice while the international break lasted, but we back to the regular Premier League days, ready for them games to be back. Especially with United only playing once a week now, got to make the most of it. Um,
We'll see if
uh,
your theory works.
what's the theory?
One game a week is how you get better.
Oh yeah, I think it'll work. Yeah, we're ahead of City right now on the table, so keep that up. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all for this week. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll be back next time to talk more footy, highlight game-changing super subs, and drop takes hotter than Derby Day. If you enjoyed the chat, make sure to subscribe and drop us a rating. Share the pod with friends and family. Until then, keep the football chatter alive, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Peace.